Well, Real American Freestyle 5 coming up a week from yesterday, January 10th. That's this week. Lance Palmer with me today. Big match ahead of you, my man. So how we feeling on match week?
Feeling good, man. Obviously, I always like to challenge myself, and this is obviously not a fight, but it's still, the competitive drive in me is still excited about the matchup, and a guy that's in a fight weight class, one above me. But I always love challenges, and I'm excited for this matchup, so it'll be cool.
Well, in the realm of grappling, I mean, unless if it's like combat jiu-jitsu, wrestling's the closest thing to a fight. I mean, you guys get down and dirty. I used to wrestle back in the day, so I guess mentally you still got to kind of prepare for more than, a jiu-jitsu match or something like that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would say, the danger of jujitsu is a little higher with, ankle breaks and things like that and getting your knees caught. But, wrestling is just the grittiest, I would say, so that's the fun part about it is, getting in there and being able to snap the head and try and control a guy and, fighting for shots and fighting for position. So, and it's freestyle. So it's a little different than collegiate style. So there you have, that's the worldwide style of wrestling is technically freestyle, so it's pretty easy for people to watch that know the sport.
And Arman Tsarukyan, big name opponent there for yourself. Just had some success. Well, I guess it was a draw, but I thought if judges were there, I thought he would have taken it against Shara Bullet. Did you watch that match? How do you think about that?
I saw some of the highlights. I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw that it was in like a boxing ring style mat and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. I mean, they did a good job pumping it up, and he had. I think it was the week before that. Also, he was in a grappling match for ACBJJ. So he's staying active. I mean, I know that the things in the UFC aren't really going his way based off of that. Last bout where he pulled out with his back and stuff like that. So, I mean, from what it seems like, not many people know exactly what happened in the back room after that weight cut or whatever, his meeting with everybody. So, I can't really speak on that, but I mean, he's a guy that definitely deserves a shot at the title in the UFC. So I'm definitely pulling for him there. I've always been a fan of his with his style, and I mean, he's had some knockouts and stuff too, but I'm a fan of his grappling style in the cage as well. So I'm excited to get in there, and it's a little different because there is no wall; it's just out of bounds. So that part's a little different, but there's still point scoring and stuff like that. So it'll be fun to kind of feel what these. I've trained with some lightweights in my career. I trained with a lot of good lightweights, but it'll be interesting to feel what the lightweight grappler feels like in wrestling.
Now, I know he's been active, like you just said, but he's also been active eating some big meals. I don't know if you see that, but he posts ridiculous videos of him eating these giant meals. He said, "I don't know when the holidays are supposed to end." You
Yeah.
think you get any edge there if you've been eating clean, or you think he's just playing around?
I think it's just him playing around. I think it's kind of funny because, with this interim title fight coming up and stuff like that, I think he's just kind of, you know, poking him a little bit with the whole food thing. But no, I mean, I know his nutritionist, and I know that he's always, for the most part, he's always on point with his diet. And Dr. Mateo does a really good job with that stuff. And I know Dr. Mateo really well too. So I think that's more for play. In some of those videos, they are funny. I mean, he's got a whole stack of food just in front of him. But no, I mean, he's always in great shape. And we both trained with Coach Cal in the garage for training camps and things like that. I haven't fought in a couple of years, so I haven't trained with Coach Cal in a while, but I know that he's always staying in shape, and he's always ready to go. So I'm not worried about that part of it. I know he's he's probably just trolling those guys online since he's not in that interim title fight.
And I guess talk to me about this match next weekend, like stylistically. How do you guys clash? How do you think this one goes down?
I mean, wrestling wise, I think I have the better wrestling. Obviously, I think size wise would be the only thing he'll be able to use his size a little bit. It is morning of the event weigh in,
Yeah.
but it's at 170, and I don't even weigh 170, but I wanted the match, so I agreed to it, and that's what it is. But I'm excited to feel the difference of if there is. I know there's a weight difference there, but just to see what the strength difference would be, or wrestling positions. I mean, I've been wrestling a lot these last 6-7 months since I haven't had any fights on schedule. So I think the wrestling nuances of certain moves and having shoes on and things like that make it a lot different when you're defending shots. You can't just slide out of stuff like you can in jiu-jitsu and MMA. So that's all things that I had to basically relearn when I started, training again for freestyle. So, I feel like that's things that all benefit me in that sense of it. But I'm excited. I mean, it's 2-3 minute or 3 2-minute periods, and it's kind of a short match when you compare it, but wrestling is pretty high pace. So, those big scrambles and those big fights in positions, it gets you tired and wears you down. But I know he's got great cardio, and he's got, great positioning with just overall awareness and hip positioning and flexibility. So I know he's probably going to be tough to finish on. So it'll be, I'm prepared for anything. He's a high level guy. So even though it's freestyle wrestling, I know how high level he is as an athlete. So that's kind of, the challenge for me. That's what makes it fun.
And with a win, I mean, that's a massive win, to say the least. So what would be next for you, ideally? More Real American Freestyle? Would you want to dip back in MMA ever? Any idea?
I mean, I haven't really taken myself out of MMA. I just haven't had any options as far as fights go. So that's kind of why I haven't fought in a year and a half, mainly is just, it's kind of been, I signed with Global Fight League last year, and they kind of ghosted everybody after they signed us all. So that was going to be my plan for this, the last 12 months was wrestle for GFL and get a couple fights in there and, see how that team structure kind of played out. But that wasn't the case. And then when I signed with Real American Freestyle, we were in New York for the launch event on Fox, and then they wanted to bring me on the team. So I became head of talent development, and that's kind of kept me busy because we're growing so fast. And with it being on Fox Nation, they wanted us to do a show every month. So we're pushing a new show every month in a different location. So I'm busy on that front of things. But as far as the athlete side of it, like, I would love to fight a few more times and then call it a day. But, I enjoy what I do. And this is kind of full circle getting back into wrestling on the corporate side of it. And there's never been a league in wrestling that worked. And I think we're doing everything correctly to make it work. And it's already shown that it's getting more and more popular. And we got fighters that want to wrestle for our league and they want to cross over. And I mean, there's guys in bare knuckle that want to cross over and wrestle. So and there's a lot of guys that have wrestling backgrounds, even if it's high school level. You see they branch off and do other combat stuff, but this is kind of bringing everybody back full circle. So it's kind of cool to see.
And you said yourself earlier that you feel maybe Arman should be in the title talks more than he is, but we don't know what went down behind the scenes. So you think if he gets either of those opportunities, I assume it will be Ilia, but either Ilia or Islam, you think he can win either of those fights?
Yeah, 100%. I think he's good everywhere. A lot of people, I think a lot of people don't realize that Ilia has like a decent grappling and defense background as well. But I think Arman's just a little different level as far as that goes. Obviously, you want to play to your strengths, right? You don't want to just go in there and stand with the guy who's got really good, crisp boxing who can knock anybody out. But that's just being a smart fighter, having a higher IQ in the cage and things like that. Anybody can get caught in a fight. You can get caught with a punch and it's over with 4-ounce gloves. But I think the reality of it is if you take the fight where you want it to be and you're better at that aspect, the guy can't beat you there. And I think Arman's good enough to do that with Ilia. I mean, Islam, I don't know what his plan is, if he's staying at 170 for good or what he's going to do. I mean, that's kind of tough to say. So I don't know if they'll ever compete again against each other, but it would be interesting to see. I mean, I don't think that Arman's that much smaller, if any. I think they're probably around the same size because I know Islam tried to bulk up for that fight and he really couldn't get much bigger than he already was. So it's hard to do. I mean, naturally, I mean, you can't really just build muscle out of nowhere. So
I can relate. It's hard to bulk, man.
yeah, I mean, it takes a long time, and it's one of those things like when you're training every day, you're not going to be packing on a ton of muscle unless you're just in the gym lifting and doing
Yeah, you're just
nothing
burning
else.
calories, wrestling and rolling, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, you can build strength a little bit quicker, but actually putting on mass and muscle, it's super hard to do. So that's something that probably, you know, Islam may come back down to 55. I know he was a huge 55 pounder and super strong, great grappler, everything. I mean, he showed great striking too. I mean, these guys have all evolved to be great overall MMA fighters. There's not like nowadays, well-rounded is probably like the least of what you need to be in the cage. You know what I mean? You can't just be a one-trick pony. You have to be pretty good everywhere. And so well-rounded doesn't really win you a title nowadays. You have to be pretty exceptional everywhere. And I think, which I think they both are, but I think I mean, that's one of those what if fights, because the first time they fought, I think Arman was kind of like a short notice fill in on that fight, and he did really well. And he was early in his UFC career, like in his career in general. So, I mean, that definitely would be interesting. I think that's a fight both those guys know, depending on where they end up weight class wise, could be down the pipeline.
And part of your match coming up, and a tale as old as time, is, I mean, Armin's not Russian, but he's from the Caucasus region, Armenia. So just that Russian Caucasus region versus USA wrestling. I mean, talk to me about that. No, I don't know if you need to necessarily say which is better, but obviously it's a competition that will probably never end.
Yeah, I mean, these guys all have wrestling. Like anybody that says they don't is lying. So, I mean, these guys have all wrestled at some level from a young age. I mean, it's just that's what they do over there. So, I mean, you're 3 or 4 years old, you're in the wrestling school, and you do that until you do something better than that. Or if you branch off into something different like Sambo or MMA, like
Right.
those guys are doing it from a very young age. So, even though he hasn't competed at a high level in wrestling to that we know of, I mean, he has a wrestling background. So, I mean, we've seen highlights of him wrestling with different guys and Hamzat and stuff like that. So we know that he has a wrestling background to some extent. So it's not like you know, when Bilal Muhammad came in and wrestled David Carr a couple weeks ago, you know, he had an MMA wrestling background, but not much of a, you know, high level background, and you can tell the difference between a high level wrestler. But those guys from Russia and that whole region, they always have some sort of wrestling background.
And they have kind of taken over, I mean, MMA, but more popularly the UFC. You know, you got Hamzat, Islam, Khabib before that, a million other guys ranked and champs. So, like, what's the solution to this? I know Daniel Cormier just opened up an MMA school. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Do you have any input?
No, I think the biggest thing is more high level American wrestlers getting into MMA, because when you look at it, it's not, I mean, there's a lot of decent wrestlers that got into MMA, but a lot of them either went from high school wrestling background, or, you know, some like myself with college wrestling background who went right into MMA and didn't try to do any, you know, Olympic dreams or world team stuff. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing I think is different is, um, and a lot of the gyms don't really prioritize wrestling in the MMA schools. So, and that's like I was a wrestling coach at Team Alpha Male for 6 years. We prioritize it twice a week, which probably still isn't enough, but we all had a great wrestling base,
For sure.
and we did really well against other guys just because we all had that base. And then, you know, a lot of our teammates, you know, a lot of my teammates had great careers in the UFC just based off of the wrestling background and being able to knock guys out. So it's like, if I can't take you down, I'm going to knock you out. There's got to be, you have to have, like I said before, you got to be better than just one thing. But I think if you come from a wrestling background and you're only training once or twice a week in wrestling, you're going to lose that skill. And so it's very important these high level wrestlers stay in the wrestling room, the actual wrestling room, not just MMA grappling, you know, a few times a week. And that's something that I wish I would have done more. Not to say that I lost to anybody, you know, with my wrestling skills. But
Sure.
I would say just like at Ohio State's right down the street, I train with them, 4 or 5 days a week right now. But when I'm away for fight camps, I don't have that type of wrestling. And I don't have people that are that high level to wrestle with me and keep me sharp like that, depending what gym I go to. But that's, I feel like in the US, that's definitely something that we're missing skill wise, is keeping high level wrestling in the MMA gym.
Now, I know you're head of talent development, so are you allowed to get biased and make picks, or you like to stay away from that?
No, I mean, we talk about it in our team meetings all the time. I mean, there's a reason why we make some of these matchups. We want to see, like, a lot of these matchups are what ifs. Like Bo
Yeah.
Nickel versus Yoel Romero isn't a match that we should have ever seen in real life, but Yoel Romero's a freak and he's 49 years old and he earned his shot at the title. So him and Bo Nickel are gonna unify the interim and the title. So I mean, that's an exciting match. I honestly don't have an answer for that one. I think you have a guy who's just a freak athlete, who's a great wrestler, one of the only guys who ever beat Cael Sanderson, and he beat him twice. And that's when Bo Nickel was in diapers, maybe even before he was born. I honestly don't
Literally,
even
yeah.
know. So it's like you got you got two different spectrums of people there. I mean, Bo's a great exceptional wrestler. He's not competing at the world level. I mean, in wrestling, but in MMA he is. So it's kind of tough. They're in two different stages of life and things like that. But Yoel Romero is a freak. I mean, to watch him beat Pat Downey 12-0, and I don't
Crazy.
even think he touched his knees once in that match. It was just like, it was insane to watch. I mean, that was definitely he's a one of one for sure. And then we have a lot of high level matches with our straight wrestlers. We got Jordan Oliver versus Real Woods.
Yep.
Real Woods is a bronze medalist in the Worlds this year. Jordan Oliver was an Olympian for us. I think it was 2020, and he moved on to MMA, and he was, wrestling high school kids when he got the call to come back and wrestle Real Woods, and went out there and got a gutsy win. And, that match was really tight. So it was more than worthy of a rematch. So it's going to be exciting to see that matchup too. I mean, we have same day weigh-ins for this event, which is a little different from that event. We had morning of Thanksgiving weigh-in, so the guys could eat and enjoy it with their family. So that was actually 2 days before weigh-in.
Yeah,
so
we were all fat and happy.
Yeah, so maybe the size difference will make a difference there for this one. But you can't discredit Oliver. I mean, that kid's a freak athlete. I did one of these pro events called Agon a long time ago in like 2013, I think it was, or maybe 15. I don't even remember, but I wrestled him when I was already in MMA.
Yeah.
It was before he was going to the Olympics right out of college. And like, he was just so fast, so explosive. I think he took me down like 3 times or 4 times in the match. And it was just like 8-0. He just beat me up on the feet. And I was like, man, obviously I wasn't training wrestling every day, but it's still like, you can see the levels to this stuff. And Oliver's explosive, quick. He's always been a super athlete. Him and my brother wrestled a few times when they were younger. And so I've known of Oliver his whole life, basically. So it's like, he's a great athlete, man. I don't take anything away from him. I just think in this matchup, I think both these guys are coming to steal the belt. Even though Oliver has the belt, I think he's got to re-win it again because that match was so close. And then Real Woods training with Aaron Pico a little bit and getting some different looks. So it's going to be exciting. I think that's going to be one of the highlight matches of the night, to be honest. Aside from, Nickel Romero, that's obviously a great match. Me versus Arman's a great match. I mean, Colby versus Rockhold, that's a fun matchup.
That's the other one the fans want to hear about,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a fun one because they're not even the same weight class in MMA, but also Rockhold doesn't have that same wrestling background that Colby does. And Colby was a really good wrestler. He didn't really have to show it much in a lot of his fights, even though he showed it in some. I think it's he wrestled at Oregon State. He was in JUCO before that. He's got a really good skill set in wrestling and in freestyle as well. So that's an interesting matchup because of the size difference. And Luke's a tall, long guy. He's very flexible. So like even in fights when guys would get in on his legs, they would have to fight like heck to take him down because he's so long and rangy. But that's an exciting one too. I mean, we got so many good matchups on the card, and a bunch of title matchups. We got our social media guys. We got Muggsy versus Giorgio.
Oh yeah, let's
And
go.
but Giorgio has, he's got great wrestling. He grew up in Ohio, so I'll say it's the best wrestling state in the country.
Well, next to Pennsylvania. Be careful now, but
that's what I'm saying. It's like, man, we got so many good guys on the card from all these states, and it's just there's a lot of positive things going on with RAF, and we're only looking to go up from here. So it's kind of hard to top off some of these. We have some of these great cards, and like our Chicago card on Thanksgiving weekend, it was insane. It was a huge crowd. We did really well. The matches were great. Then we go to Indiana and we're like, man, it's going to be tough to beat Chicago. And then we had these, Ket Kaizen knocked off Zahid Valencia, who was a returning world champ. Then you got Yoel going in there and winning. You're like, dude, can it get any better than this? And then we got this Miami card next weekend. And then we go straight from there to Tempe, Arizona, February 28th. And we're headlining that with Faber versus Cejudo. So it's like, and we got a ton of other matchups that are going to get announced this week and next too. So, I mean, we're trying to, make wrestling great again. You know what I mean? We're trying to put it in the public eye. We're trying to have, regular sports fans tune in, because this is what grows the sport. So some of these fun matchups that some people are like, oh, this guy's going to get smoked, this and that. It's like, you're still going to watch and you're going to see if he's going to get smoked or not. But when it comes down to it, it's entertainment, right? So we want to turn this sport into something that's entertaining for people to watch. And now we have betting lines on all these matchups and things like that. So it's fun, and it's only growing, faster than we can keep up. So that's the thing, is our weekly meetings every Monday. It's like, man, we got to hustle. We got to get to this next event. We got a lot to do every week. So it's fun, but it keeps me busy. And I know that our team is so excited about growing the sport that there's, no amount of pressure that's going to hinder us at all.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. RAF 05, 06 already coming out soon, but Lance, happy match week. Again, Arman Tsarukyan, Lance Palmer are going to be a banger. Before I get you out of here, anything you want to say to all your fans tuning in for this one?
No, I appreciate everybody that's been reaching out about me competing again on the wrestling mat, especially a lot of the wrestling fans. And, I got a lot of people like, oh, he's washed, this and that. So you got to get, the haters are cool too, because it's fun to see, like they're seeing it though. So whether you're a hater or a lover, you're still seeing it, which is great. So that helps me either way. But no, I want to give a shout out to Town Hall and Rebel. My good friends in Columbus and Cleveland, helping me stay healthy for the match, and all great healthy food options and great people. I've known them for over 15 years. So I appreciate those guys, and looking forward to next Saturday night.
My man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, January 10th, Real America Freestyle 5 coming at you live. Lance Palmer, kick some ass, man. All right.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.